And welcome back to the QuickBooks Introduction. Today we are focusing on products and services, and specifically, how do you create inventory in QuickBooks and how do you manage it? Okay, so we are logged into the latest and the greatest 2023 QuickBooks Online version. Now to access products and services is quite easy. We have two ways to do that. When you log in under Money In right over here, you are going to see an icon that says Product or Services. By all means, feel free to click that. Another way you have to access that screen is actually going down to the side, Navigation, clicking Get Paid. A sub-menu will appear. At the top is AR and at the bottom AP, but if you scroll on down under AR, you're going to see Products and Services. And here is the landing page of Product and Services where you are going to find your inventory, your non-inventory, your service, every type of item you create in QuickBooks. Now with that being said, right over here at the right we have the infamous gear icon that allows you to customize this landing page as you so see fit. You have the ability to go ahead and customize the amount of rows up to 300 rows, add additional columns if that's what you so choose. Right next to it we have the export to Excel icon and then the print icon that allows you to print this information. Now right over here at the left side you are going to see like a little funnel, and you click that drop down arrow. This is going to be a filter. They allow you the ability to go ahead and display all items, both inactive and active. It automatically defaults to only showing you active, so if you're looking for inactive you definitely have to set this feature to all or inactive. You go down here, you have the ability to go ahead and say show me only those that are low in stock and items that are out of stock, and click apply. Go ahead and do that. Now that brings us to the big, humongous icons we have up here. Low stock and out of stock. These are triggered by these two columns over here, quantity on hand and reorder point. If your quantity on hand theoretically was 30 and your reorder point is 30, it's going to flag the system and say, guess what? Oops, you are low on stock on this item and it is time to reorder it. If by chance your quantity on hand is 0, it's going to be a humongous oops, and it's going to say, guess what, you are out of stock of a specific item. You definitely have to reorder that item. Now up at the top here, if you notice, we have the green button, which it goes without saying, it's going to allow us to create a new item. But right next to it we have a more button, so let's go ahead and click that. You have manage categories and run reports. What are managed categories? Well, before we click Manage Categories, I just want to briefly show you this. If you notice on your list, you have certain labels, put certain buckets right here. And under that, we have all our items. So that's essentially what a category is. It's a label. It's a bucket. It allows you to take all the items that you're creating it and throw it into a specific bucket. So when you look at this report, it's nice, user-friendly, and everything is sorted for you. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's click Manage Categories. Here are those same labels that we created. And all you have to do is click this New Category button up here and enter in the label that you want. It's that simple. Okay, so now what happens if you made a spelling mistake? Again, you do have the ability to click Edit and simply edit the name. It's that simple. Now this little gear icon over here only allows you to adjust the number of rows. Not really relevant right now. But we want to go ahead and we want to go back to our landing page. Now before we actually go down to this drop down action arrow over here, let's actually go ahead and create an item, and then once we've created it we can see what we can do to it. So let's go ahead to the top and click New. We are going to have the option to select the type of item that we're creating. Again, 4 different buckets here. We have inventory, we have non-inventory, we have service, we have bundle. For the purpose of this class, we're going to go ahead and create an inventory item. So let's click that. Here we have what kind of item are we creating. Let's create an AC unit. Let's call it the AC Unit 9000. Sounds like a very powerful name. Right over here you have the ability to go ahead and add an image to your item if you so choose. You have the ability to enter in a SKU. And then right down here again, this is where we're going to make sure that we categorize our list so it's nice, user-friendly for us on the landing page. Let's select a category. Let's choose and bucket it into AC units. Here you're going to establish the quantity on hand. How many, if any, do you have on stock? Let's go ahead and say that we have actually 4. And it's going to say, okay, that's great, you have 4. What's the date that you had the 4? Let's choose June 14th. Now it's going to say, tell me what is the amount or the number that you want for me to flag that your inventory is low. So for this, let's just say that if we have 2 on hand, we want to go ahead and flag the system to say low stock. Then we get into the good stuff for the general ledger. We are booking this into inventory assets, but if you want to go ahead and change the GL associated with where you're booking this inventory, or non-inventory that is, depending on what the item is that you're creating, by all means, click this drop down arrow and record it accordingly. You have the ability to enter in a brief description as well as a sales price. Again, just remember, whatever you put in here defaults when you invoice that customer once you sell this specific product. So here, let's just say we know right off the hand that when we go ahead and invoice for the AC unit 9000, we're going to be billing our customers $1,000, a whopping $1,000. So we want to go ahead and enter that price there. Now you want to go ahead and say, that's great, I'm glad you're getting $1,000, but what's the GL account? What's the income account that you want that $1,000 to be recorded to when you invoice? And we're going to select sales and products and incomes. You do have the ability to go ahead and change it simply by clicking this drop down arrow. Is it taxable or not? The answer is yes, we're going to go ahead and charge tax, but if you did not want to charge tax, simply click edit sales tax and you can do that. Now we're getting down to the cost, which is purchasing information. It might be possible that you use a specific vendor for this purchasing these AC units, in which case you can select your preferred vendor down here. In this type of example, we know that we're going to be using and buying it from wholesale supply company, so we're going to go ahead and select that. Now, what is the cost associated to us? Again, it just gives us the option to go ahead and say what is the cost associated. We don't necessarily have to do that, but we want to go ahead and key it in because, say, theoretically, we know we purchased these AC units from wholesale supply company and they only charge us $500. So let's go ahead and do that. Where are you booking the expense of this item? You are booking it to the cost of goods sold. You don't have to commit to this GL. If you want a different GL, by all means, click the drop down arrow, select what is appropriate for your company and choose that. So that pretty much sums up how did we create the item. Let's go ahead and save and close and save the AC Unit 9000. All right, confirmation. AC Unit 9000 is now officially up and running. Let's go down to our list. If you notice here, AC Unit 9000 now appears with a quantity on hand of 4. It has a cost of $500. We're selling it $4,000, and it has a reorder point of 2. Now, going to this drop-down action button, if we wanted to make this item inactive, we could. We can run a report, we can create a duplicate, we can adjust the quantities that we just entered in, the starting value of the quantity, as well as the quantity on hand. So let's go ahead and I want to show you how to make this item inactive. But before I do that, I'm going to do this with an exclamation point. You see right here we have a quantity on hand. When you make this item inactive, QuickBooks will take it upon itself to change this quantity on hand from 4 to 0. Let me emphasize that again. When you make this item inactive, QuickBooks will take it upon themselves to take this item and put it from 4 to 0. It will make an adjusting entry automatically for you. So let's go ahead and do that. It says, are you sure you want to proceed? We're going to click yes. It is now inactive. And if you noticed before, we had a status of just active when we came back to this landing page. Let's go ahead and default it and change it to say show me all, which include inactive items. Okay, AC unit is now officially inactive, and again, here it is. QuickBooks took it upon themselves to change the quantity of 4, put it back down to 0. Now if we make it active again, exclamation point, it will not throw the 4 back in there. The 4 is officially gone. So let's go ahead and make it active again, and I'll show you that. It is now officially active. It's that easy to make it active, but if you notice, the quantity of 4 went off into Never Never Land. It doesn't exist. So how do we go ahead and add the 4 back into quantity on hand? If at any point you want to change the quantity on hand, by all means, you can do that 2 ways. or access the screen 2 ways. Click Edit, or click the drop down arrow and say Adjust Quantity. It's going to throw you to this inventory quantity adjustment screen if you clicked Adjust Quantity. But I want to go ahead and get out of here because I want you to see how to access Adjust Quantity the other way as well. So let's go ahead and click that. You can also access that screen if you go down to your edit icon right here, the edit link. Click it right over here. You see Adjust Quantity. Just literally click that and you will get back to that screen that we just appeared. Inventory quantity adjustment. Okay. So it took 4 from us. We want to go ahead and say, I don't think so, QuickBooks. We want to go ahead and add that other 4 back into inventory. So this is how you do it. You make sure that you have the correct adjusting date. We know that this transaction happened today, so we will go ahead and leave it today. You do have the ability to go ahead and change the GL if you so choose. We're going to leave it at inventory shrinkage. We see here that we are now officially saying we want to add units back into quantity on hand for unit 9,000. And right over here, if you click into new quantity, which if you notice here the quantity on hand is 0, we want to add those 4 units back in. So let's go ahead and do that. If you notice, the change in quantity is now going to be 0. I'm sorry, let's rephrase it. The change in quantity is now going to be 4. Now if you want to go ahead and add additional line items for whatever reason, you can do that. And if you want to remove them, click the trash can. Now if you notice up here you have a reference number. If by chance you wanted to go ahead and edit that, you can. And you also have the ability to add a memo. You may want to say, hey, made a mistake and made inactive. Okay, so now that we've keyed in and we're basically telling QuickBooks, do me a favor, put the 4 back into the system for us, we have 2 options down here. We have a save and close. It goes without saying, as I've often said, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. If you click close, it's going to get you out of the screen. You don't want to do that. Why don't you want to do that? Here, let's click save. Because it's going to give you these additional buttons down here to print out your transaction journal. So if you go down here after clicking save, you're going to see a more link appear. Click that. And again, it's going to give you the list of an audit history or a transaction journal. You also, by clicking save and not getting out of the screen, have the option to go ahead and delete it if by chance you want to. You can create a copy from it. But let's go ahead and actually create the transaction journal. Now the audit history is, as I've said in other modules, audit history is nothing more than a screen that shows you everything that could have happened in the system. It's not the most user-friendly screen, and an audit history is definitely not what you're going to be using if you want to go ahead and attach proper documentation to your books for this inventory adjustment. So you definitely, as an accountant, want that documentation. So you want to click transaction journal. And this is your transaction journal, all that fun, good stuff, debits and credits. It's going to show you exactly the transaction that took effect, the GLs that have been impacted, the date in which this transaction hit the general ledger, as well as the ability to go ahead and print this information, attach it to your documentation to support the transaction if you so choose, the ability to export this information or this report into Excel, the infamous gear icon. If you see this report and by chance you want some additional key elements here, again, QuickBooks is very user-friendly. It allows you to add everything and anything under the sun on this specific journal report, as well as the ability to email it. Now if you notice up here, I just want to point out, originally we were on that screen. We are now officially thrown into a completely different module, which is the reports module, as you see here. So how do you get back to products and services? You can go through Get Paid, as I said before, and go through that. Or I've made my life easy and I actually just set it up as a bookmark. So let's go into my bookmarks and go into products and services to access that screen. If you look down to AC Unit 9000, you will see the quantity now has officially gone back up from quantity on hand to 4. Our general ledger is now correct, and everything is signed, sealed, and delivered. So I know that was a lot of information, but I definitely hope that this quick tutorial gave you everything and anything that you needed to manage your inventory, how to create an inventory item, how to adjust your quantities, even how to make them active and inactive and reactive. So if anything, hopefully this should get you up and running, and I undoubtedly look forward to seeing you into the next class.